Chat, what's going on, boys? Welcome back to the stream. I apologize for being a little bit late today. I was just running a little bit behind. Um, but we're here now, fellas. We're here now. Let's set that goal quickly. Let's see what we can get here. All right. I'll just get myself situated per usual. Also allow a little bit of time for some of you boys to get in chat anyway. So that'll be good. Boys to get. There we go. There we go. All right. Welcome, boys. Welcome back to the stream. This is a part of our essentially weekly streams where we stream every single day during the week, 8 p.m. Eastern, and on weekends we stream on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. But for this weekend, I should say, we are streaming for the doing a little bit of a watch party for Roman Dolidze versus Fluffy Hernandez. So we'll be doing the entire card. So if you guys are interested in a little bit of a fight companion, be sure to join that stream, and we'll see you then. What's going on, Hannah? What's going on? Welcome to the stream. I'm doing well. How are you? Anyways, though, so ever since we talked yesterday, there's not really that much news or anything like that, but there was a couple things that I wanted to touch upon. So the first thing that I wanted to touch upon is this. Sean Brady says that he has a new opponent and he has a location and a date. So we'll see who he fights next. It'll be interesting to see who the UFC puts him up against next. Sean is coming off a really dominant win over Leon Edwards. And just looking at the rankings about who this could potentially be. Let's see. So Sean's number 2 in the rankings right now. I guess they could do Sean Brady versus Shavkat. I wouldn't be completely shocked if this is the fight and this is the number 1 contender fight. I think it would make a lot of sense for Shavkat. He already earned a title shot in the past, but since he was out with injuries for so long, maybe he needs to get one more win under his belt to get that title shot once again, to re-earn that title shot once again, and maybe a fight versus Sean Brady would be a good number 1 contender fight. So I could see this being the fight, and if it is the fight between these two guys, it'll be a really fun one. But yeah. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Brady Shavkat, yeah, that's what I think as well. Or Ian. It could be Ian. Well, no. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it could be Ian. Sean Brady versus Ian. I know Brady really wanted to fight Gary. And for Gary, I think he didn't really want to fight him initially. But at this point, as Sean Brady is number 2 in the rankings, it would be a really good opportunity for Gary getting into another number 1 contender fight after just losing to Shavkat Rakhmonov in a number 1 contender fight not too long ago. So, yeah, it's probably going to be one of those two. And I think both of those fights are going to be pretty fun. So we'll see what the UFC decides to do when they decide to put that fight on, which card. Could be for New York, MSG, considering that the main event is going to be Islam Makhachev versus JDM. So having a number 1 contender fight for that same weight class on that same pay-per-view card does make a lot of sense. The UFC does tend to do that a lot. So I could see that happening. Brady nose is smashed. Yeah, freaking A. Ian looked good last time we got hurt. Yeah, Ian did actually look pretty good. I know a lot of people aren't that high on Ian Gary, but because of his personality or whatever. But I think he actually is a pretty good fighter. And I think the best thing that Ian Gary does out there is he kind of just neutralizes his opponent. We saw it in the Shavkat fight. We saw it in the Jeff Neal fight. Honestly, every fight that Ian Gary is in, he does a really good job at just stopping what his opponents want to do. For Shavkat, he wants to have an action-packed, very aggressive sort of fight. But Ian kind of shut all of that down. And that's a huge reason for why why it turned out to be such a close fight. So Ian is a pretty good fighter. He's very defensively sound, and he's just a very good striker and has a lot of success. And in his last fight versus Carlos Prates, as you said, it was close. It was close, or not. It was close actually. Ian Gary was dominating for the first 3.5 rounds, and then in round 5 he almost got hurt. And I believe in round 4 Prates was starting to come on a little bit, and then in round 5 that's really where he had his biggest round and was very close to finishing Ian Gary. But I think that's more of outcome of Prates being really good as opposed to Ian Gary not being very good. I think Prates, as you said, just hits like a truck, and also he's a pretty good striker. He has shown it in a lot of different fights. So I think good performance, honestly, from both guys. 5th round, good performance from Prates, and the first 4 rounds, it was a pretty good performance from Ian Gary. So yeah. Hannah with the question. Oh, how long you've been streaming, Hannah? I've been streaming for a little over a month. Hasn't been that long, but it's been fun streaming with the boys, and of course I'll continue to keep this going. Shavkat beat Ian 4-1. Yeah, I don't remember the exact scoring of the fight, how I personally scored it, but how I remember it, I guess I would have to watch the fight back. But how I remember it is I thought it was pretty close. I think I thought it was 3-2 for Shavkat, but regardless, I would have to watch it back. I don't remember each individual rounds. The biggest thing that jumps out to me though was that one opportunity where Ian Gary was able to take down Shavkat, or at least take his back, and he was relatively close to finding a submission there. So that's the one memory that really jumps out to me about that fight. So Ian did honestly have a pretty good performance. But at the end of the day, whether it's 4-1 or whether it was 3-2, Shavkat definitely won that fight. So, yeah, but it's unfortunate, as I said, for Shavkat because he's been injured so often, and at this point he hasn't fought in a while. So I do think he's going to need to fight again before he gets the belt, especially considering that Islam Makhachev is getting the next title shot against JDM. So we'll see what they decide to do. But if I had to guess, I think it was. I think it will be Shavkat versus Sean Brady. So that'll be interesting. Kid Low says clear 3-2. Yeah, that's what I thought initially. I don't remember each individual rounds, but initially I thought it was 3-2 in the favor of Shavkat. But yeah, good fight, I guess. Yeah, a little bit of a slow fight, but that's kind of what Ian does. As I said, he kind of neutralizes what his opponents do well. And Shavkat usually thrives in those high action-packed fights. But yeah. Ian won 3-5. Yeah, round 5, I believe. Was that the round that he took Shavkat's back and was threatening submissions? I believe it was 5. And then in round 3, I'm assuming he did good work as well. But yeah, close fight for sure. If they do Ian Gary versus Sean Brady, how do you guys see that fight going? Honestly, I could see Ian Gary winning that fight, because the thing with Sean Brady is he's a great grappler. He's very good. If he can get you down, he's very difficult to deal with. I think we saw that in a lot of his fights, but especially in the Leon Edwards fight. Leon literally had no answers at all once he got taken down. The only thing, though, is on the feet, he's getting better, but he's not the best. I mean, he was finished by Bilal. Say what you will, Bilal has good solid striking. I agree, it's solid, but the power isn't really there. So it wasn't a great sign that he got finished by Bilal. But even outside of that, when you look at the actual technique of Sean Brady, I don't think it's fully there. I think he just strikes to grapple. So for a guy like Ian, if he could utilize footwork, skirt along the outside of the cage, maybe avoid some takedown attempts, maybe he could piece up Sean Brady a little bit on the feet with a lot of jabs, leg kicks, and a lot of long-range weapons. But, yeah. We'll see. Round 2 on damage was very, very close. The deciding round. Yeah, it was a close fight from what I remember. I guess I should watch it back. I'll watch that fight back to give you guys my official prediction or my official thoughts on it, because I haven't watched in a while, so I don't remember exactly. But I do remember it was very close. And, yeah, from memory, it was 3-2. But, yeah, it's a good fight, though. Good fight for sure. It was boring. Don't watch it. Yeah, it was slow pace. As I said, though, that's kind of what Ian Gary does in most of his fights. Yeah, in the D-Rod fight, he was able to get a finish. But honestly, for the most part, he just utilized his footwork. Very slow pace fight, not all that much damage. But he just kind of tries to avoid damage and inflict limited amount of damage. And that's kind of how he fights. But, yeah. Just too much stalling, yeah. The one complaint, listen, I love Shavkat. He's a great fighter. The one complaint that I will say is I feel like this could be a controversial take. I feel like his grappling may be slightly overrated because in the Ian Gary fight, he had a lot of trouble taking down Ian. Did he even take him down in that fight? If he did, it was not that often. And also, if you look back at the Wonderboy fight, I know eventually he was able to take Wonderboy down and he submitted him, but it was very difficult for him to take down Wonderboy. And I think we've seen that in a couple of his other fights as well. So Shavkat's great on the feet, very aggressive, hits really hard. His striking is solid. And once he's able to get the fight on the ground, he does a lot of great things. But I think his his shots are a little bit overrated, in my opinion. There has been a bunch of examples or a bunch of occasions where he wasn't really able to be all that successful on his shots. Um, but yeah, but outside of that, I think Shavkat's a great fighter. Um, Good leg kicks and distance management. Yeah, that's kind of what he does. Good leg kicks, distance management. Just tries not to get hit all that much. If it turns out to be a boring fight, then it is what it is. Ian's just trying to win the fight. So, yeah. Watching from San Francisco, California. Let's go, brother. Welcome, welcome. Well, you're already here, but let's go. Ready for tomorrow? Yeah, we will be doing a watch along or a fight companion for tomorrow's fights. So if you're interested, be sure to join the stream. We'll watch everything live with you boys. Will you stream card tomorrow? Yes, I will. I will. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. What do you guys think? That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe I don't know the official answer, and obviously everybody's different. But maybe one thing is, when these guys are fighting their whole careers to get a title shot, and they finally do, and they turn, I guess more so Dominic Reyes' case, it turns out that his fight against one of the best fighters in the UFC at that point, in John Jones, a lot of people thought he won, and he actually got a loss. That could take away a lot of confidence, maybe, or I don't know. That's the only thing I could think about. But outside of that, I don't really know. Why they go on long losing streaks after they fight John Jones. I guess something that you could say is they're not great fighters, but I don't really think that's true, in my opinion. So, yeah, I don't really know. Cool, definitely will. Let's go, brother. Jones damages you a lot. That's fair. But Reyes was broken by the judges, not Jones. Yeah, for Dominic Reyes specifically, I think that actually did play somewhat of a factor because he obviously thought he won the fight. I would say the majority of fans thought he won the fight. I personally thought he won the fight, and that definitely, I think, affected his confidence a little bit, and maybe he didn't train as hard or whatever going forward in his career, and he took a bunch of losses. But at this point, he's back on a winning streak and one more win over Carlos Holberg, and we'll be talking about a Dominic Reyes title shot once again. So. It's kind of crazy, but we'll see. John's broke Gus in the rematch. Yeah. Well, the rematch wasn't close. Do you think the same might happen for to Aspinall? Yeah, I mean, listen, there is going to be a lot of pressure on Tom Aspinall, 100%, because a lot of people, including myself, like when you look at the heavyweight division, I really don't see any contenders that have a legitimate chance of beating Tom. Like for Ciryl Gane, I think he just takes him down and submits him. For Volkov, I think he can do the same, or even on the feet, I think he can knock him out. Sergey, he already beat. Blades, he already beat. Gelton Almeida, just stop takedowns, keep the fight in the feet, get the finish. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he can beat him anywhere. There's just so many guys like that I don't think have a real chance to beat Tom Aspinall, at least me personally. So because of that, though, at the same time, there could be and there will be a lot of pressure on Tom Aspinall. But in my personal opinion, I just think he's too good. He's already been in a lot of big fights already. Obviously, his fight versus Sergey Pavlovich was a huge fight to make him. Well, now it made him the undisputed champion of the heavyweight division, but at that time it was for the interim belt. And even in his title defense, if that officially counts as one, against Curtis Blades, like that was also a pretty big fight. So I personally think Tom's going to be fine. And as I said, I just think he's so much better. Like he's literally head and shoulders above everybody else at that weight class. So I don't know. If I had to say, like, there's really not that many contenders. Maybe Gelton. The problem with Gelton, though, is his IQ is not the best. When you look back at his fight versus Curtis Blades, that was just a weird sort of scenario. And even if you look at his Derek Lewis fight, it was just weird, but maybe he has the best chance. He has to dominate Gane at least as much as John does. Yeah, I could see that. I personally think how this fight is going to go is I think it is going to be similar to the John Jones thing. I think in the first or second round, Tom's going to get a takedown and find a submission once he gets there. We'll see. If he doesn't do that and the fight does go longer, there are going to be some questions because we haven't seen Tom go that long. He usually gets finishes within the first 2 rounds. So if we get to round 4 or we get to round 5, maybe he would start to gas out and maybe Ciryl Gane could start to take over a little bit. So there are questions that are left to be unanswered. But in my opinion, I just think there's such an advantage in terms of the grappling between Tom Aspinall and Cyril Gane, but we will see. So in a way, he's fighting two battles, one against Gane. Well, yeah, yeah, that's fair. If he does beat Gane, which I think he will, if he beats Gane and then maybe if he beats one more guy, I think we could. I don't know if there's even that much interest for it at this point, but if he beats Gane and he beats, let's say, Jailton Almeida after that, maybe we could see John Jones versus Tom Aspinall finally at the White House. We'll see what they decide to do. I know John is officially back in the testing pool, so maybe. And I think the White House card is the only card that would get him interested to fight. But as I said, since he's been ducking Tom for so long, I don't even know what the interest level is for that fight at this point. And also at that point, John will only be older and he'll only have more time in between the last time he fought. So I don't know. We'll see. Kid, what's going on, brother? Almeida's the only one I think, yeah, I agree with you. Listen, I still think Tom Aspinall beats him, but I do think Almeida probably has the best chance. On the feet, I think it'll be trouble for Almeida, but at least on the feet, he is very fast, so maybe he can avoid some of the big shots that Tom throws back his way. But in terms of the grappling, I actually think he's a better grappler than Tom Aspinall, which is kind of crazy because Tom is a great grappler. But when you watch Almeida grapple out there, looking back at his fight against Curtis Blades is like essentially 300 pounds. And Almeida was literally flinging this guy around the cage. It was almost comical to watch, but at the same time, it kind of just showed like the ridiculous strength that Jailton Almeida has, on top of the fact that has very good wrestling pedigree. And once he is able to get you on the ground, he does do very good work. The Derek Lewis fight, as I said before, that was kind of a weird one because he kept getting into full mount and then he would just stay in full mount. He didn't really do anything from there. But in some of his other fights, he has shown good submission abilities. Maybe the Derek Lewis fight was just a weird one. But in general, I do think if he can get the fight to the ground, he could give Tom some trouble. So I do agree with you on that one. It's just the thing is on the feet, I think it'll be trouble for Almeida. He's going to have to figure out a way to survive on the feet and just get the fight to the ground as quickly as possible. In a way, I'm more interested versus Gane versus Aspinall than Hunter. Wow. That's interesting. Yeah, well, that's fair. Listen, I don't personally think he has zero chance. I just think there's a very realistic path to victory for Tom Aspinall, a takedown and submission. That's how I see it. But listen, it is heavyweight. Cyril Gane, like he doesn't hit the hardest, but he hits relatively hard. He's more of a volume guy for that weight class, but he does hit relatively hard. He was able to finish Tai Tuivasa, who has a great chin, over the course of a fight, of course, but still, he was able to finish him. And it's the heavyweight division. Listen, anything can happen. There has been some critiques about Tom Aspinall's striking game that he leaves his chin way too high up in the air. So listen, it could happen. I don't want to say he has a zero chance, but to me personally, I think it's, I don't know, like maybe 85% chance that Tom Aspinall wins. That's kind of how I see it. Maybe even a little bit higher. I don't know. That's how I see it. Amanda doesn't stand with no one. Instant takedown attempts. Yeah, you are right. You are right. But I guess the question would be if Tom does stop takedowns, which we really haven't seen anybody stop Almeida's takedowns. So maybe Tom wouldn't be able to either. But if Tom does stop takedowns, then it'll be a nightmare for Almeida. That's a problem. And that's kind of my point, though, because when you look throughout the rankings, I do agree with you, Kidlow. I actually do. That Jailton probably has the best chance to beat Tom. But even then, I would still favor Tom. But when you look at the rankings, Cyril Gane, I think Tom has such a significant edge on the ground. Volkov, I think the same. Pavlovich, I think the same, but he's also knocked him out when they fought. Curtis Blades, I think he has an advantage on the feet. Almeida, I think he has an advantage on the feet. Waldo Cortez Acosta, he has an advantage everywhere. And outside of that, I don't really think any of those other guys have a real chance to get the belt, at least anytime soon. Maybe Derek Lewis, but Tom has an advantage everywhere against Derek Lewis. The thing about Derek Lewis, though, is he hits really hard, so that'll be the biggest issue, I guess, for Tom. But that's kind of my reasoning for why I think Tom's going to be a champion for a long time, just because he has such like a significant advantage in one aspect or the other against all these contenders. But yeah, do best athletes UFC tier list. Ooh, that's actually a really good one. I can't believe I haven't done that yet. I'm definitely going to do that. Probably for Sunday, just because tomorrow we're going to be doing the fight companion. Let me find my tier list thing on my notes app. 1 second, boys. Where's this thing? Here we go. best athletes. I think, just to spoil it a little bit, I guess, I think number 1 best athlete in the UFC, in my opinion, is probably Johnny Walker. He's ridiculously athletic, it's insane, but Jailton Almeida also should be on there. He's ridiculously strong, honestly, freakishly strong, the way he was able to toss around Curtis Blades, and also he's really fast as well, so he's a good athlete. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Cyril Khan by Chris. Tremendous, tremendous. Oh yeah, I wasn't saying that you think is there. Just I was saying that. No, I know, I know. I was just saying me personally. I think he does have a chance, um, but yeah, I know there are some people who think he has zero chance, and honestly, a lot of people thought Sean Strickland has zero chance against Israel Adesanya, and there's also been a bunch of other examples of that as well. So listen, nobody has zero chance, especially at the heavyweight division. There's always a puncher's chance, or there's always a scenario where the guy who's perceived to be the worst fighter, in this case Cyril Gane, could just be able to stop takedowns, keep the fight in the feet, and outstrike Tom. It is possible. I don't personally think it's that likely, but it is possible. So I never like to say somebody has no chance. Like another. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he will, just because Gane has not shown great takedown defense throughout his career. I think the John Jones thing wasn't great. I know John Jones is an elite wrestler. He is an elite wrestler. But still, how easy it was for him to take down Gane, I don't think was a great sign for him. And for Tom, yeah, I mean, who is he taking down? I guess, but he's also looked to strike for the most part in a lot of his fights. But against Cyril Gane, I do think the grappling is going to be a huge part of his game plan. So we'll see. It is possible that Gane could stop takedowns, but we'll see. We'll see. Best athlete like in the UFC is Mosar Evloev. Mosar Evloev is the best athlete in the UFC. He's relatively athletic, but I think there are better athletes. To me, it's Johnny Walker, unless I'm forgetting about somebody. That's who I would probably say. If Amanda still wanted, I agree with you. I heard that that he was talking about that he may want to move down in weight to get a second belt if he does get the belt at heavyweight, or maybe just in general he wants to move back down. He's freakishly strong, so the fact that he's tossing around guys at heavyweight, at light heavyweight, he would really give these guys a lot of problems with his grappling. I mean, at light heavyweight, they're all strikers. Magomed Ankalaev, I don't really consider him to be a grappler. He's mainly a striker. Alex Pereira's a striker. Yuri's a striker who has some grappling, but he's mainly a striker. Olberg's a striker. Roundtree's a striker. Jan Blachowicz has some grappling, but he's honestly mostly a striker. Jamal Hill's a striker. Rakic is mostly a striker. Like, all these guys are strikers. So I do think Almeida could do some serious work at the light heavyweight division if he wanted to cut weight and move back down there. But yeah, imagine what Almeida would do to Pereira. Yeah, it'll be tough. It's just the one thing that I want to say about Almeida is, yeah, like, I know he shoots very quickly, but if there's any sort of scenario where a guy's able to stop takedowns against him, I'm not saying Pereira's that guy, because he probably wouldn't be able to. But if there's ever a scenario where somebody can stop takedowns against Almeida, I do think he's in trouble. I think his striking is very raw at this point, and he is very fast. He's athletic. But it's very raw, so he does kind of leave some openings on the feet, and I think that's the real danger for Jailton. But in terms of his grappling, like, this guy is very elite, and also, as I said a million times, he's freakishly strong. Or Khalil, yeah, Khalil would be a tough fight. Hamzat destroys Alex and Khalil round one in the same night. Yeah, I mean, probably tough fights for both of those guys. I don't think either one of those fighters will be I don't think either one of those fighters would be able to stop takedowns for Hamzat. The one thing I will say for that higher weight class is Hamzat's probably going to be a little bit small for that weight class. So Khalil's not that big, so maybe for Khalil it wouldn't be that big of an advantage. But for Alex, he will be significantly bigger, or decently bigger, than Hamzat. So that's the only thing I'll say. But even with that being said, I think the grappling edge is so significant for Hamzat over Alex that, yeah, he'll probably destroy him in the first round, to be honest. I actually think for a little, I rewatched it and got to back up to the first time. Yeah, maybe I got to watch that fight back. But to my memory, what happened was Gon did fight it a little bit, but it wasn't that hard for John to get the takedown. And listen, John Jones is an elite wrestler. Whatever you want to say about his ducking, whatever, his wrestling is absolutely elite. So getting taken down by John Jones is no sort of like saying that you have bad takedown defense or anything. I just thought it was a little bit easy, and I guess really the main thing that I took away from that fight that wasn't great is how easily he was able to get the choke. It just seemed like Gon didn't know what happened, and I know John Jones is an elite grappler, I get it, but that was a pretty obvious sort of choke to at least address. He just didn't address it at all, and all of a sudden he was getting choked out. It was kind of weird, but yeah. What's going on, brother? Whoa, man. Relax, the bell is throwing guys around. It's true. He was tossing guys around. Dude, if you guys haven't watched that fight, watch it back. It's like literally almost comical. The first round of Curtis Blades versus Gelton Almeida. It was hilarious. What's going on, brother? Welcome back to the stream. Any predictions versus Charles versus Rafael? I personally think Charles wins by a late finish. That's why I see it. But we'll see. Charles is coming back very early from his knockout loss to Ilya, so we shall see. Who's the best physique in the UFC? Opinions? Myers, Movsar, Evloev, Movsar Fane. Every part of his body is muscular. Yeah, I mean he's got a good physique. If I had to say, I'd probably say Paulo Costa. Probably pause, but probably Paulo. But Movsar's got a good physique as well. He absolutely shut down Derek Lewis as well. It was boring, but he had nothing. Yeah, he did have nothing for him. That's also a comic. Dude, Gelton Almeida's in a lot of like comical fights. That was also comical because it was a 5-rounder. Gelton Almeida was literally in full mount for the entirety, essentially, of 5 rounds, and he just like wasn't doing anything. It was kind of weird to see. Yes, he did shut down Derek Lewis. Lewis had nothing for him. He couldn't stop takedowns. He couldn't stop Gelton from getting into full mount. But it was just weird that he was in full mount the entire fight. He didn't really do much damage, and he didn't really threaten all that many submissions. But he did shut down Derek Lewis. So yeah, people crap on Gon for finishing time. Yeah, as I said, Cyril Gane doesn't have the most power in the world. Really, how he gets his finishes is over the course of a fight, landing a bunch of shots and a lot of damage. That's usually how he gets his finishes. So, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. If he was able to, the fact that he was able to finish Ty at all, I think is impressive. I mean, Ty at that point was the number 3 ranked guy in the rankings. He was on a little bit of a hot streak, and on top of that, he had a good chin. So, it was a good job getting that finish. And the Derek Lewis one, yeah, also solid performance. So yeah, was Eddie he wasn't one of the best. I'll say that. I think it was honestly more so of Connor just making it look easy though, because if you look back at his fight versus Poirier or some other really good fighters, a lot of guys had problems with Eddie Alvarez. So I think Connor at that point was just head and shoulders above everybody else. And listen, maybe Khabib beats that version of Conor anyway, but I would have liked to see it. I would have liked to see that version of Conor McGregor fight Khabib. But, you know, we never saw it. Whatever. Damn, Charles is fighting 3 times since he lost to Arman. Arman is nothing, absolute bomb. Yeah, Arman hasn't fought. To his credit, though, or in fairness to Arman, I know he is trying to get a fight. He did decline a fight against Gamrot, which I thought was weird, just because he's the number 1 contender at this point, Arman is. And if Arman fights just one more time, it doesn't really matter who he fights. He can fight an unranked guy for all we care. He just needs to fight one more time and he'll get the title shot. So I know I know that Gamrot is lower in the rankings than Arman is at this point. But if you beat Gamrot, which I think he should, even though he technically lost the first time, I thought he won the first time, but whatever. I think he would beat him in a rematch. It doesn't really matter that he's low in the rankings. He would get a title shot anyway. So I thought that was weird. But outside of Gamrot, I think he accepted a couple other fights against some other guys. They just declined or pulled out or whatever happened. So I don't know what they're doing with Arman. I've heard a lot of talk about Arman just getting the next title shot without needing to fight again, which is possible. I mean, he is the number 1 contender. We'll see. In my opinion, I would like to see that fight the most just because Arman is the toughest fight for Topuria. I still think Topuria beats Arman, but it's the toughest fight for him. So I would like to see that test. I would like to see it. Arman already beat the top contenders. That's why he's number 1. Yeah, he is. All he needs is to beat the champion. Yeah. I personally think he loses to Poirier, but I would like to see the fight, as I said. I definitely would like to see it. Mo Farah can get a finish in a 5-round fight. He's both 5 rounds. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. He's a good fighter. He's a really good fighter. And he has good striking as well. It is kind of crazy that he has 0 finishes in the UFC. Like, I think he's too good of a fighter for that, but as I guess that just is what it is. And in a 5-rounder, yeah, he'll have a better chance at getting finishes. But he kind of he didn't fuck himself. It's not his fault that he got injured, but he's not in an amazing spot. I think he can get passed up a couple times for the belt because he had to pull out of his fight versus Pico. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Brady versus Shavkat next. I think so. There's really only 2 options for his next fight. It's either going to be Brady versus Ian Gary or Brady versus Shavkat. I don't think anything else makes sense. So I'm assuming it's going to be Brady versus Shavkat. And I think that fight makes a lot of sense. For Shavkat, yes, he did get a title shot before, but he's injured way too much, and it's been a long time since he fought last. So I think it makes sense for him to fight at least one more time before getting a title shot. And if he beats Sean Brady, which I think he will, then he'll definitely get a title shot next. And for Brady, if he could beat Shavkat, he'll get the title shot next. So it'll be a good number 1 contender fight. And yeah, I think that's what they're gonna do. Most of remember similar thick. What's with this thick and gritty talk? Number 1 contender's not getting a title shot. Yeah, there is some similarity between the 2 guys for sure. I guess the UFC kind of sees both of these fighters as not entertaining, but maybe that's why they're not getting it. But yeah, they kind of do have similar styles. Mofsar didn't fuck himself or anyone else. Oh man, the Mofsar slander, tremendous. Mofsar is married to an adult in his country. Let's go. Do you think if Alexander Volkanovski deserves some time after getting knocked against Islam, okay. I think it would have played out differently. Yes, I definitely think so. Would it have changed the result? I don't know about that. I think Islam probably would have won anyway. It just listen, skill for skill. I think like if Islam was the same size as Volkanovski, I think Volkanovski wins that fight. It just Islam is so much bigger, and also he does have really good skill on top of that. So I think it's a difficult matchup for him. And I know the first fight was really close. I think a correct scorecard was 3-2 in the favor of Islam. But in the rematch, I think Islam would have made some adjustments regardless. I mean, he did. He threw the high kick and was able to land it. And full camp or not, I don't think Volkanovski would be able to eat that shot. But with all that being said, I think he would have been able to last a little bit longer. Oh, you're talking about the fight with Ilya. Okay, never mind. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's a similar thing. I think Topuria is just a really difficult matchup for Volkanovski, regardless of regardless of the Islam knockout. Maybe could have survived a little bit longer, maybe, but that right hand or left hook or whatever it was, I think it was a right hand, that he took clean on the chin, full camp or not, I don't think he'll be able to eat that shot. Or even if he took a year off after the Islam knockout, I don't think he would have been able to eat that shot. I talk about this a lot, but physicality is so important. And when you look at Volkanovski, I honestly think he's one of the most skilled guys in the UFC. But the problem with Volkanovski is he's just not all that physical. He doesn't hit that hard, and his chin's not amazing. It's not the worst in the world, but it's not that amazing. And when you talk about 2 guys in Volkanovski against Topuria, their skill level is honestly like relatively close. Topuria is also very skilled, but the difference is Topuria can take a shot really well, and he hits insanely hard. So when you talk about matchups like that where the skill level is kind of close, but the physicality is like overwhelming in the favor of one guy, I just think it's very, very difficult for the other guy to win. In this case, Volkanovski to beat Topuria. I think if they fought 10 times, I think Topuria might honestly win all 10. It's just such a difficult fight for Volkanovski, in my opinion. But yeah, Volkanovski was doing well against Ilya in the first round. He was doing well. He did a really good job at utilizing a lot of leg kicks. He did this sort of thing where he was utilizing the same setup for a leg kick, body kick, or head kick, which kind of left Topuria guessing a little bit. So listen, he is very technical and talented. It's just the thing, as I was talking about before, as soon as Topuria can cut off the cage, put Volkanovski alongside alongside the cage, have his back alongside the cage, that's really when he'll put combinations together, eventually land a big shot. And regardless of how long Volkanovski took off, he's not going to be able to eat that big right hand of Topuria. Honestly, nobody has been able to do it thus far outside of Josh Emmett, which I don't really understand what happened there. But yeah, outside of Josh Emmett, nobody's been able to take it. I personally have JDM getting for best. I'm happy to check that. Listen, I know Islam's going to be the favorite, and I think rightfully so. He does have a pretty significant grappling edge against JDM. Now, one thing that I will say to counter that is JDM is going to be bigger than Islam, which I do think is going to be a big factor. And if you look back at Bilal versus JDM was able to stop all the takedowns, I think, or most of them at the very least. And yes, Islam's a better grappler than Bilal, but also JDM is going to be bigger than Islam. So I don't know. How I personally see the fight going is I think Islam is going to have some trouble in this fight. If JDM is able to stop takedowns, which is a big if, I think on the feet it's going to be trouble for Islam. Personally, that's how I see it going. I think the striking difference between the two guys is pretty immense. And yes, Islam is a good striker. He's had success against a lot of really good strikers in the past, but I do kind of think JDM is on another level than some of the other guys. Some of the other strikers he's went up against, at least in a different way. Like Volkanovski's an amazing striker, obviously, but JDM does a better job at cutting off the cage, putting punches together in combination, hitting relatively hard as well. And if he was able to get Islam alongside the cage, put together combinations, I think he can hurt him and have success there. So I think it's a dangerous fight for Islam. But I do see paths to victory for Islam as well via takedowns, really. But we'll see. I think it's close. It's very close. I think it's closer than the odds would suggest. But I actually don't know what the odds are, but I'm assuming Islam's going to be like a minus 200 plus favorite. But we'll see. Maybe the odds are already out. I'll take a look in a second. If Tom Aspinall was the same size as Pantoja, well, yeah, 100%. But that can be said for everybody. If John Jones was the same size as Demetrius Johnson would kill him. If anybody was the same size as Demetrius Johnson would kill them. So yeah, usually like the lower you go in weight, the better and more skilled the fighters are. It's kind of just the way it is. I mean, they're just faster. They have to be more skilled in a lot of different areas. So yes, I do agree with your sentiment, but it could be said for like anybody. Damn, you've never been getting the Volcano scenes right now. I'm a huge Volk fan, bro. I'm not even joking. I actually am. I'm a huge Volk fan. I just think the Ilia Topuria fight is a really difficult fight for him. But in the Max fights, I was rooting for Volk. Your fight, I was rooting for Volk. The Islam fights, I was certainly rooting for Volk. I'm definitely a big Volk fan. He's a great guy. He's a great fighter, very entertaining, and the greatness is undeniable for Volkanovski. I didn't give you answers, but how would you? That's honestly a pretty good fight because Tyra is pretty big. I think Tyra wins that fight. I'm not that high on Moikaev personally. Like, he is very fast, and on the feet, he does have good kicks, and on the ground, he has decent wrestling, or I'll say good wrestling. But I think he'll have a lot of trouble taking down a guy like Tyra, just because Tyra is so much bigger than him. And also, even if he does get a takedown, Tyra will still give him issues, as his jiu-jitsu is elite. And I do think he can switch positions, as he's going to be a lot bigger and more physical than Moikaev is. So I would lean with Tyra winning that fight. And I think, honestly, he would get a finish. If it's a 5-rounder. If it's a 3-rounder, maybe a decision. In a 5-rounder, I think he would get a finish. But I guess you're not talking to the right guy if you're high on Moikaev, because I really never was, even when he was in the UFC. Bilal doesn't have a half of these. Yeah, he doesn't. But he does have, I guess, really the point that I'm trying to take away. And listen, MMA math usually doesn't work, but the fact that JDM improves his takedown defense, because Bilal does have solid takedowns for sure. And JDM has shown an inability to stop takedowns in the past. So I think the fact that he was able to stop all the takedowns from Bilal does show to me, or does tell me, that he's making improvements in that area. And maybe ever since that fight, between then and the time in November when he fights Islam, he'll make an even bigger improvement. So I do agree with you. Like, Islam is significantly more technical in terms of his grappling and even on the feet as well. But yeah, I just think the fact that JDM has shown an ability to stop takedowns and improve upon something that wasn't that much of a strong suit for him in the past does give me some confidence for him. But we'll see. It's close. As I said, I'm not really leaning one way or the other at this point. I just think it's closer than a minus 200 for Islam. Islam is too big for lightweight. I guess. Yeah, he is great. First of all, I agree with you. Islam is just way too big for lightweight. I think we saw it in his last fight versus Moicano, which was kind of a ridiculous fight, but it just Armin had to pull out, and it's just the circumstances, and they put it together. But regardless, in that fight, I think we saw Islam have a bad weight cut in that one, and there's been a couple of other examples as well. So for 155, Islam was just way too big. He was cutting a ridiculous amount of weight, and yeah, I wasn't surprised when he moved up. But in terms of him purely striking against Dustin, having success, he was definitely having success on the feet. But here's the difference. The difference is, he has such a big advantage in the grappling that Dustin wasn't striking the way he normally does. He had to focus so much on the grappling that he wasn't that free. And I talk about this a lot in fights, and it's a little bit irritating sometimes to see it. But when strikers go up against grapplers like this, they only throw one or two punches together, and then they'll look for the counter shot takedown from the better grappler. And I think we saw that a lot from Dustin in that fight, where he'll throw one or two shots, then he'll look for the takedown attempt from Islam, which, I mean, it makes sense. You don't want to get taken down by the better grappler, but at the same time, I kind of feel like you're taking away your best aspect, because for Islam, his best aspect is his grappling for sure, and he's not going to not grapple against Dustin. And for Dustin, his best aspect of his game is obviously his striking. So if you're only throwing a couple of punches and then looking for the takedown, you're not really giving yourself the best opportunity to win, at least in my opinion. And yes, I get it. You're giving yourself a better chance of getting taken down. But if you're only throwing one or two punches and then looking for the takedown, you're also not giving yourself a great opportunity to win. And when you look back at that fight and a bunch of other examples as well, Dustin got taken down anyway. So even though he was so obsessed with takedown defense, which he should be, it didn't really matter at the end. But it's a little rant on that. How do you see Prates versus Neal going? I think it's going to be an absolute banger. It's going to be the fight of the night of that card for UFC 319. It's either going to be that or the main event. But I think Jeff Neal is going to get in the inside like he normally does. Push a pace, pressure, try to land a bunch of shots in combination. Jeff Neal is a good fighter. He's a really good fighter. His punching combinations are effective. He hits really hard. He throws punches very quickly. He has really fast hands. I think he's a good fighter. It's just he hasn't really put everything together. I think that's the one big issue with Jeff Neal, and I think that's why sometimes you see an inconsistent Jeff Neal. Like on one hand, he'll have a pretty close or relatively close fight against Shafkat, and then on the other hand, he'll lose a fight that he probably should win or make a fight closer than it probably should have been. But my official prediction for that fight is I think Prates is going to get a second round TKO or maybe even a KO, but probably a TKO. Jeff Neal does have a pretty good chin. I think Prates will be able to utilize his striking pedigree. He hits really hard. He'll have a significant advantage in terms of the reach. And I think eventually he'll land a big shot, hurt Jeff Neal, maybe back Jeff Neal up. And at that point, it'll be over, in my opinion. So I'm going Prates round 2 TKO. But it'll be a fun fight before it's over. Still bitter Makhachev versus crazy. It would have been very, very fun. I agree with you. It sucks. It sucks we didn't get it because now it kind of seems like we're never going to get it. So it does suck. I agree with you, but it is what it is. He missed weight. Well, he had an injury or he missed weight. I personally think he was going to miss weight. So that's why Dana at this point is so upset with him. But I don't know. He said he had an injury, so whatever it was is what it is, I guess. But yeah, I do agree with you. I would have really liked to see Makhachev versus Saryukin for the belt. That would have been really fun. The scrambles would have been good. I think probably in the end Makhachev would have won again, but I think it could have been close, and Armin does have phenomenal grappling, for sure. So would have been good. Um, Movsar versus Armin at 155. That'll probably be an Armin Sarukian victory. Um, it just he'd just be a little bit too big. I think Armin's a really good fighter. He's a great grappler. So is Movsar, but I think Armin would be a little bit too big for him at 155. But that would be kind of a funny fight just because both guys are just not getting the opportunities, it seems. We'll see. We'll see for Armin. He might honestly get the shot. As I said before, seems like there's more momentum that he may get the next shot versus Ilya, but you never know until something's signed or announced, I should say. So we'll see. But yeah. Do you think Charles versus Ilya was the fight to make, given that Ilya is a shotgun job? I thought it was fine. I thought it was fine. I thought it was a fine fight to make. So I was happy about it. I guess you could have done Ilya versus Armin at that point. But yeah, I mean, listen, it was a pretty good style for Ilya Topuria, as Charles usually runs into punches and how hard Ilya hits. It was always going to be a really good style for him, and I'm a huge Charles fan, but it was always going to be this result. Charles just running into a big shot, getting in the clinch or getting on that inside, and Topuria just landing a huge right hand, which is exactly what happened. But I wasn't mad when the fight was made. I thought the fight kind of made sense personally, but I guess you could have done Armin maybe. Neil Shulgers with bigger, longer fighters. He's pretty much. Yeah, that's fair. I agree with you, kid. Though he's a really, really good fighter. He just struggles a little bit with bigger, longer fighters, and I do think the fact that what's his face, that Prates hits so hard and does have a really good understanding of striking is going to make it even more tough for Jeff Neal. But we'll see. I think Jeff will land some big shots. I think he will make it a bloody affair. But in the end, I think it'll be a second round finish, or really TKO finish for Prates. Is Charles going to be Tony 2.0? I really hope not, man. I really hope not. I don't think so, personally. Maybe he fights Fiziev next. We'll see how that goes. If he loses to Fiziev, I wouldn't be shocked if he retired. Maybe he goes one more fight, but if he loses to Fiziev and then he loses his next fight after that, I think he would retire. Especially a guy like Charles, he just takes so much damage. So did Tony, but honestly, I think Charles may even take more damage than Tony does, because even in his wins against Chandler, in both of the Chandler fights, when he fought Patty or not Patty, when he fought Poirier, or when he fought Gaethje, even in those wins, he took so much damage in those fights. He got dropped. He took big shots, and even in other fights, he's taken big shots. Against Ilya, he just got knocked out clean. So even in the Armin Sarukian fight, he took some damage as well with the ground and pound elbows that Armin had. So I would like Charles to retire. If he looks good in this fight against Fiziev, then sure, keep going. But if he loses to Fiziev, especially by finish, maybe retire, maybe one more fight after that. But I would not like to see him fight a lot more, especially considering the amount of damage he has. Neil did pretty good against. He did. Yeah. The one thing I will say about Shavkat, though, is he doesn't really utilize that to his advantage, and I think we saw that in the Jeff Neal fight. I actually think stylistically, Shavkat is not a bad matchup for Jeff Neal. I know he's bigger and longer than him, yes, but Shavkat is super aggressive on the feet. He kind of runs into punches as well, somewhat similar to Charles. Not the same. Not to the same level, but he does kind of run into punches, and Jeff Neal has really fast hands, as I mentioned before. So I think because of that, he was able to land a bunch of big shots on Shavkat. But yeah, Jeff Neal definitely performed pretty well against Shavkat. Was honestly relatively close to a finish. I wouldn't say he was that close, but he definitely hurt Shavkat to a certain extent before he was finished later in that fight. But he did pretty well. I agree with you. Any other opponents from the top contenders for the lightweight division for Ilya Longson? I think that could be a threat. Let's see. I mean, one thing that I want to preface this with is I think Ilya is going to fight one more time at lightweight and move up to welterweight. I think he's going to beat whoever he fights next, and then he'll move up. But assuming that he stays at lightweight, any threats to him, I think Armin is probably the biggest threat for him. I personally, I guess you think Patty is. I personally don't think Patty's that much of a threat for Ilya. If Patty can get on top, if he can get a takedown and get on top, yeah, it'll be trouble for Ilya. Patty has great jujitsu and he has great ability to have success on the ground. It's just the thing is his wrestling is not amazing, and Topuria has shown a pretty good ability to stop takedowns in a lot of his fights, even in his last fight versus Charles Oliveira. And on the feet, it's just such a ridiculously big advantage for Topuria in terms of the power and also in terms of the striking pedigree. So I don't personally think he's that much of a threat to him. Really, it's just Arman. Outside of Arman, I think he beats Arman, but I think he's the toughest test for him. Because outside of that, he already beat Max. I think he beats him again. Probably a tough fight for him, but I think he beats him again. Charles, he already beat. Gaethje, I think Gaethje's one of the easier fights in the division, actually, for Topuria. He can beat him on the feet or on the ground. Dan Hooker, I think Topuria beats him. Maybe the length will give him some trouble early, those front kicks, but eventually I think Topuria figures it out. Gamrot, I definitely think Topuria beats him. Dariush, same thing. Fiziev, I definitely think Topuria beats him. And that's kind of what we have for that weight class. So it really just Arman, in my opinion. Do things. Too good. I think he's the best grappler in the UFC. I actually don't think it's that close, or maybe it's relatively close. I mean, Charles has great jiu-jitsu, Pantoja has great jiu-jitsu, but I think in terms of pure wrestling dominance, there's nobody close to Khamzat. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, listen, if he's going to win the fight, he's going to have to get a submission in the first 2 rounds. I think if honestly, in my opinion, really the first round. I think if DDP can survive round 1, I really think he's going to win the fight. And maybe that's a controversial take, whatever. I really think that's how it's going to go, though, or that's what it's going to be determined by. If he can get out of the first round. In round 2, Khamzat's going to be more tired than he was in round 1. Round 3, I think that's really going to be the swing round where DDP can really start to pick up the pace and pressure. And around 4 and 5, I think Khamzat will be really tired at that point. But listen, his grappling is insane. And if he goes in there, takes down DDP and submits him right away, I wouldn't say that I'll be shocked. But at this point, I'm very slightly leaning in the favor of DDP. But we'll see. Shafkat has a huge head. For sure, yeah. Guys who have a huge head is just insane. So, yeah. Agree. Triggers down. He's got taken down a lot. Yeah, so this is the reason why I'm leaning with DDP. So his takedown defense is not good. He's gotten taken down a bunch. He had his back taken by Derek Brunson, who's kind of a decent grappler, but still, he had his back taken by him. And obviously, so there's been a bunch of examples of this. And round 1, it's going to be a 10-8 round for sure. It's either going to be a finish or a 10-8 round for Khamzat. It's one of the two. But if it's a 10-8 round for Khamzat, I think in round 2 he's going to be a lot more tired, and he'll still probably win round 2, I would assume, but he'll be more tired. And then if DDP is able to survive that round 3, I think he'll be even more tired. Round 4, more. Round 5, more. And I think at that point, DDP can start to pick up the pace and pressure, land a bunch of body shots, maybe body kicks, or punches to the body, jabs to the body, and I think Dricus can start to take over a little bit. And I think in the first round, yes, Dricus does not have good takedown defense, and as I said, I think it's going to be a 10-8 round for Khamzat. 10-8 round or a finish in the first round for Khamzat. But the fact that Dricus is so physically strong, and I think he'll be physically stronger than Khamzat, I think it's going to need to make Khamzat work more than he's used to for getting some of these takedowns. So if Dricus is just able to make Khamzat work a little bit more, or maybe even a lot more than he's used to, that can also really help tire out Khamzat Chimaev, as we do get in the later rounds. So that's really my thoughts on it. But as I said, if Khamzat goes in there, gets an immediate takedown, immediate submission, would I be shocked? No. I mean, Khamzat is that good, but we'll see. That's why I think it's the best fight the UFC could put on at this point, outside of Islam versus Ilya, just because both guys have been really dominant, honestly, and both undefeated in the UFC. Yeah, it does, but that's kind of how it's going. And I think for Topuria, the UFC will allow it just because Topuria is a relatively big star at this point. And yes, he only defended once at 145, and I think he's only going to defend once at lightweight, and then he's going to move up. So yes, I mean you would like to see guys defend a little bit more, but I think Taporia has a little bit of special privilege for a few reasons. Because one, he's a star, and also two, I think the UFC really wants to see Ilya versus Islam, and if Ilya wins against whoever he fights next, and Islam beats JDM, there's a decent chance we actually do see that fight, and that's obviously a ridiculously huge moneymaker for the UFC. So I think there's a lot of reasons or a lot of factors in the favor of Ilya in terms of him just needing one more win at lightweight and then moving up. Um, he has the best takedowns in history. That might be his. Yeah, honestly, yeah, probably. Probably. It's insane how he's able to dominate everybody. And even Robert Whitaker, who's historically known for being an amazing anti-grappler, even he wasn't able to stop the takedown in the first round. Round one, Hamzat, I've said this before, and it's true. He's the best round one fighter of all time. I don't even think too many guys are close. It's so ridiculously dominant. He just essentially mostly gets finishes in the first round. And it's ridiculous. It's just the thing is, if you could survive round one, you have a chance. And I think Dricus may be that kind of guy. Dricus sometimes is going to be Hamzat's easiest fighter. I agree. I actually completely agree with you. I agree with you. It could look really easy or really hard. DDP is just kind of that fighter. I feel like what makes DDP really. Yep, I agree. Yeah, I agree with that. It is odd actually that he has such good cardio with as physically strong that he is and with all the muscles that he does have. So it is pretty impressive. But I think the reason why DDP is so good is obviously he is skilled on the ground. He actually has very good jiu-jitsu, like very good. And his wrestling is solid. His striking is pretty good. So he does have skill, although it all looks very unorthodox. But I think the real reason for why DDP is so good is A, he's very physically strong. B, he has ridiculously good cardio, as you said. And C, he's just so physical. He hits really, really hard, and he can take a shot ridiculously well. When you look at a lot of his fights, he does a lot of things that most guys just cannot get away with. And he takes a lot of big shots, and it doesn't really seem like it affects him all that much. And I think that's a huge reason for why he's able to fight the way he does. I really don't think anybody else would be able to fight the way Dricus does. Just because, they'll get knocked out eventually. But for Dricus, it seems like he just continues to eat shots and it doesn't really matter how hard his opponents are hitting him. He just eats shots and continues to press forward. It's not only that he's not getting finished. He doesn't even seem like he's getting hurt, which is the real reason for why I think Dricus has had as much success as he's had. Ooh, Rick Allen, what's going on, brother? Welcome back to the stream. The legend. How do you feel to be a Bitcoin? Insane, bro. It's insane. Nah, I'm not a Bitcoin millionaire, but it would be nice. But welcome to the stream, though, Rick Allen. But yeah, DDP is a very interesting type of fighter, to say the least. And as I said, most guys don't get away with the type of things that he's able to get away with. I guess RDR is another one of those examples, but RDR is also like huge for middleweight. Dricus is very big for middleweight, but RDR is like huge. So he also has that advantage for going for him as well. So it'll be interesting. I'm definitely looking forward to that fight, and we'll see how it plays out. And if we ever get RDR versus DDP in the future, that would be a hilarious fight. But I'm all for it. Given that Ilya is an amazing striker, do you think? No, I'll say no. I'll say probably not. I think Money Mayweather, at least. I mean, at this point, maybe you have a better chance, but in Mayweather's prime, probably not. He just really didn't get hit. And I know Topuria is an amazing striker, and I do think he'll have a lot of success in boxing if he ever wanted to do that. I think he said he would be interested to box, but at this point, obviously, he's focused on MMA. But I do think he'll have a lot of success, but I think Money Mayweather probably is a tough fight for everybody. He just doesn't get hit. But Topuria should go up and fight JDM if Islam loses. Yeah, I think that's probably what will happen. If Topuria beats, let's say Armin's the fight. If Topuria beats Armin, and regardless, whoever wins the fight, if Islam wins, obviously that's a huge super fight, and that would make a lot of sense. But even if JDM wins, I still think it makes sense. And Topuria obviously wants to to be great, and becoming a 3 division champ would be something that nobody else has ever been able to do. And honestly, I know it's been a short career, but what do you guys think if Ilya beats Armin, let's say, and then he moves up and beats JDM or Islam? Let's just say Islam. I guess that would be a bigger win on paper. If he does that and retires, is he the greatest fighter ever? I know it's not that long of a career, but when you look at some of the names he's beaten and the way he's been able to beat them, it's honestly insane. Charles Oliveira, Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway. It's just like an insane list of guys that he's beating. And if he adds Arman Saryukin to that list, and also he adds Islam Makhachev to that list, which is a big if. Obviously, we're not there yet. But theoretically, if that happens and becomes the first 3 division champ ever, I don't know. It's crazy. You gonna go see Weapons, bro? No, what is that? Is that a movie or something? I don't know. RDR is insanely huge. Yeah, he's huge for the division. He's very, very big. And that's a huge reason for why he was able to take that perfect right hand from Robert Whittaker. I don't think anybody else, or maybe Drickus, can take that shot, but I don't think most guys would be able to take that shot from Whittaker. It was a perfectly timed shot, perfectly on the button. And the fact that RDR is just so big was a huge reason for why he was able to eat that. And also what's it called? That's a huge reason for why he was able to beat Whittaker. He's just able to hold him alongside the cage. And yeah. Rick Allen, let's go. John loves Rick Allen, the legend. RDR is yeah, I don't know. It's a very odd visual. It's a very odd visual. To buy in options. Joshua, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. It's a movie, bro. Rick Allen's a legend, bro. He's so rude, but it's hilarious. Yes, I do other things outside of watching UFC. I watch essentially every sport. And do other shit as well. Poker's big. I love poker. Let's see. Ilya won't fight someone that's got to be 5 years older at least. I mean, maybe we'll see. I kind of just think it's a consequence of circumstance. Just because the guys that he's fighting, like, I don't think there's any argument. Like, should he have not fought Volkanovski? Obviously, he should have fought him because he was the champion at the time. Or should he have not fought Max Holloway? I think he should have, because he was coming off a huge win over Gaethje. Should he have not fought Charles Oliveira? I mean, maybe you can say it should have been Arman instead of Charles, but still, I don't think the Charles fight was ridiculous. So I don't know. Do you have any interest in the UFC? I do, bro. Like any other sport, and some other stuff as well. Rick Allen, these guys are going back and forth. Let's go, boys. Good chat. I think Drickus only win. The way to win is tripwire. Yeah. That'll be interesting. Maybe you can pull some strings and get the UFC to let him do that. But yeah. Didn't know he said he wouldn't fight Max, but he's not fighting Max. I agree with you. I know he doesn't want to fight Arman, or he said he doesn't want to fight Arman, and I could see why he doesn't want to fight Arman. Just because, listen, the 3 options are Arman, Gaethje, or Paddy, and for Gaethje and Paddy, Paddy's a relatively big star, and he has beef with Ilya, so I think that makes sense. But for and even for Gaethje versus Ilya, it also makes sense for Topuria, as Gaethje does have a big name, and also I think it's kind of an easy fight for Topuria. Obviously, nothing's a guarantee in MMA, but I do think it's a relatively easy fight for him. But yeah, and I think for Arman, it's the toughest fight, and also the smallest name, I guess, out of the other 2 guys. So I think I get why Ilya doesn't want to fight him, but as you said, I do agree with you. I think eventually he would he will fight Arman if it comes down to that, if the UFC wants to. Do you do fantasy football? Yeah, I do. I didn't do my draft yet. It's too early now. When do you usually do your draft? Usually what my group likes to do is we usually like to do it at like a week before the season, just to avoid injuries or whatever. But yeah. Juicy, do you own or rent? I don't personally own. I'm still live with my parents, unfortunately, but eventually I'll look to move out. Trolls of Air is amazing, and lots of things gonna happen. Armin is definitely a much more difficult fight stylistically for Ilya. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was the worst idea ever to give Charles a shot for the interim belt against Ilya. But yeah, maybe there is an argument that it should have been Ilya versus Armin. But is what it is. We might still see Armin versus Ilya anyway. I think there's honestly a decent chance we see it anyway. Why don't you take one pizza as a down payment on a house, row? I'm trying to save money. Dude. Thank you, Rick Allen. Not unfortunate if you have a good relationship with them. Yeah. No, I do. It's not unfortunate, but I know what Rick Allen's trying to say, so that's why I said that. I agree with you, though. It's not unfortunate. But oh man, I love Rick Allen. But anyways, getting back to MMA. So yeah, one thing I wanted to check though was bets for this upcoming weekend, because everybody that's in here that didn't hear, I know I said it a bunch, but if you guys haven't heard, I will be doing a watch along for I'll be doing a watch along for the card tomorrow. I know it's not amazing, but we'll be doing a watch along. So if you guys are interested, be sure to join the stream, and we'll be watching the fights live and reacting to it live and all that stuff. So that'll be fun. Ilya versus Armin, money versus daddy's money. Yeah, that's fair. That is fair. Look, there's confidence difference with this, and champ. Yeah, of course. It's true, homie. Let's go, Rick. Rank the divisions from worst to best. So worst is definitely heavyweight. All right, let's go through it. Worst is heavyweight. Next after that is got to be light heavyweight. The next worst after that, honestly, I think featherweight might honestly be the next after that. Then after that, I think I'll say middleweight. Middleweight is good. We're getting to good territory here, but I'll say middleweight after that. Then I'll say welterweight. Then I'll say flyweight, and then I'll say lightweight. I think that's how it goes. And I think flyweight and lightweight are very interchangeable. I know flyweight's a lower weight class and people aren't too excited about it, but the champion's amazing in Pantoja, and there's so many contenders. And honestly, the same thing could be said about lightweight. The champion's amazing, and there's a lot of contenders. So I think either one of those would be the best. Probably shooting for the parents forever. I'm 25 years old, man. Fluffy missed weight. Missed weight was sad. Glad Roman didn't have any bad blood. Dude, so chill. Yeah. Did he? Didn't he make weight on the second attempt, or did he not? I might have missed that. I know he missed weight initially. But honestly, that could be something that could play somewhat of a factor. I guess maybe it was a bad cut for Fluffy, so maybe is his gas tank not as good as it normally is? I don't know. We'll see. Maybe, honestly, good value on Roman. I think there's good value in Roman Dolidze regardless, but maybe this is another thing in his favor for sure. Best division featherweight, because what the fuck? What's with you and girthy vein Mosar? Let's also do a chill son and watch along to one who's used to it. That could be fun too. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. The chill son.
I can't quit staring at Connor's dick. I can't stop.
Yeah, chill son is hilarious. He's definitely hilarious. Honestly, like a lot of his takes are just honestly, I feel like a lot of his takes are just whatever. I don't even think he believes it. He's just saying like random shit and whatever comes to mind, and he just goes with it. So Chill's definitely very funny. But yeah, W rankings, but I would prefer I would put probably 4 lightweight, 3 flyweight, 2 bantamweight, 1 welterweight. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad. I mean, welterweight. Listen, I think the only bad divisions is is the heavyweight division. I think that's the only real bad division. Even the light heavyweight division, I know it's definitely the second worst division in the UFC, but still, I think there are still some good contenders there. With Pereira, Yuri, Olberg, I guess, Roundtree, and Dominic Reyes is now coming up as well. So I do think there are some guys. Zhang Min Yang, we'll see how he does. He'll definitely beat Johnny Walker, almost definitely, probably by finish. But we'll see how he does at that weight class. So I do think that weight division is getting a little bit better, essentially because of the emergence of Khalil Roundtree. But yeah, I don't hate like your rankings. I think that a lot of these divisions are interchangeable. They are very good. Good champions, good contenders. Can't really go wrong either way. Chael's the GOAT, by the way. Yeah, for sure. He is. He definitely is the GOAT. Yeah, he's hilarious. I love his bit with the whole thing that I just played a second ago with Connor. It's so funny. I feel that too. Yeah. Yeah. Nah, Chael's hilarious. We definitely could do some reactions to some of his videos in an upcoming stream. But yeah. Freaking A. Chael plus. Let's go, Rick Allen. Don't change. The lineal champion. Yeah, he is the lineal champion. He's the GOAT. And also, obviously he beat Anderson Silva. He just thought he lost the round. That's why he tapped. So, yeah, no, he's the GOAT. He's funny. Oh, man. Let's go. Got a Mofsar fan, I think. Maybe. Do you think Leon or Bilal can get the belt back again? Leon, I'll say most likely not. For Bilal, I'll say most likely not for both of them, personally. Because for Bilal, I think probably will be next. I don't want to say probably, but what I would want to see for him next is Kamaru Usman. And let's say he beats Kamaru Usman. Usman is a little bit old. If he were to rematch JDM, I still think it's a tough fight for Bilal. I really do. And if he were to fight Islam, well, actually, I don't think that fight would ever happen. So that'll be a roadblock for sure. But I don't know. I probably say no for both guys. And for Leon, just talking a little bit more in depth about Leon, I just think he's a good fighter. It just I think the recipe is out on how to beat him. Just pressure him, and if you have success against him early, it seems like he just loses all confidence. We saw that exactly in the Sean Brady fight. Like Sean Brady had a good first round for sure, but Leon just lost all confidence after that first round, which wasn't great to see. So. I don't think it's super likely that either one of these guys get the belt again. He's not funny at all. Rick Allen's not a fan of Chill. He's more talent, is more founded than fight. He's placed in price. Yeah. He just says random shit, which is to me funny. But yeah. He has some good one-ons back in the day. His videos are super random and annoying. That's his style though. That's kind of how his style is. And some people find that funny. If you don't find that funny, then I guess it wouldn't be for you. But his rambles are just like he doesn't even know what he's talking about. So yeah. Chill rambles and never gets an actual point. I agree with you. Rick Allen. But I think that's a part of his shtick, though. He doesn't really have good takes, or he never really gets to a point. He just talks. But yeah. Leon needs to improve on his mental game. Then maybe he can be a bit. Yeah, I agree. I think skill-wise, he's there. On the feet, he's very, very talented. Very talented. And even on the ground, he does good things. If you look back at his Bilal fight, yeah, Bilal won the majority of the fight. But in the fifth round, he was able to reverse position on the ground. He was able to do it a couple times. But in the fifth round specifically, he was able to reverse position and landed, honestly, the biggest shots of the entire fight. Huge elbows. So he has skill. It just his mental is just not there. If he loses a round, it's unfortunate. It's kind of crazy that he made it as far as he's gotten. But if he loses a round, it just seems like he loses all confidence. And I think that's a huge reason for the downsides that we've seen him, and a huge reason for why he's lost a lot. But yeah, who do you got for DDP tomorrow? I said I have a video out about it. I think DDP is going to win. I'll show you my video. Let's go to it. Let's find it. I posted this a while ago. Let's see. Did I pass the chat? Here we go. Why DDP will destroy Hamza Chimaev. Check it out if you guys haven't seen it. I think DDP wins. No hedge, Rick Allen. No hedge. Bro, that's just watch line would be lit. It's funny to your son is. Yeah, no, it'll be funny. It'll be funny. It'll definitely be funny. But yeah, some good stuff happening for sure. For sure, I'm excited. I mean, listen, this week we'll do the watch along. I think there'll be some good fights on the card, but I don't think the card's going to be amazing or anything. But I think there could be some good fights on it. And after this week, there's going to be a lot of really good fights and how much fun fights. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for the fall. I think it's going to be very good. Earlier on in the year, I made a couple of videos about it. I was complaining a lot about the UFC not putting on good cards, being in the Apex too much. But at this point, you know, I think the UFC is doing a pretty good job at putting on good cards. How much BCC are you betting on DDP Chimaev, bro? Do you bet? I do bet, yeah. I don't know how much I'm gonna bet on DDP, but I will be taking DDP. I'll probably take DDP money line, and I'll probably take DDP rounds 4 or 5 finish. That's probably what I'll end up doing. But we shall see. Anyway, speaking of betting, though, let's see this weekend. So I don't have that many plays for this weekend, but I just wanted to give out a couple of free plays for you. That I actually do like. So the first one that I like is Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage is not a great fighter, but he's going up against a really bad fighter in my opinion. So I think he'll probably win. If you do use FanDuel, they have this 30% boost that you can use, and you can get better value on Cody Brundage. So I'm personally taking Cody Brundage here, money line. On the main card, more plays that I like Steve Erceg via finish. It's minus 140. Actually, this number is higher than it was, but initially, I got it for minus 112, but at minus 140, it's a little bit high. But I still think Erceg is better than Ode everywhere, and I think he gets the finish. So if you like the value, you can take that. The other thing that I actually like is the under 2.5 rounds. It kind of covers both guys. If Ode wins a fight, it's going to be by a finish within the first 2 rounds. And for Erceg, I think if he wins the fight, he's also going to win by a finish. So it kind of covers both guys. So I like that as well. And then in the main event, what I like is Roman Dolidze money line. Nothing too crazy on Dolidze. I think Fluffy is most likely going to win, but at plus 250, I kind of like the value against a seeming to be pretty fragile Fluffy Hernandez. And the other thing that I like is Roman Dolidze by submission at plus 1100. And obviously, this is a sprinkle. I just think Dolidze is a good grappler, and so is Fluffy, but I think there's maybe a chance that we could see that. But outside of that, I don't really see anything else. Most of these guys are huge favorites, and I think that's fair. I think Christian Rodriguez wins. I think Masamento wins. CLD wins. And some of these other prospects, I also think they're going to win as well. Like Elijah Smith, who I think is a real legitimate prospect. He's not going up against a great fighter. And Julius Walker, the same could be said there. So, yeah, that's really all the value that I see on this card. Not too much, but for the week after, there's definitely more value on it. Is that how you made it? No. All time, I am up on betting. I mean, betting is pretty tough, but all time, I am up. This year has been very, very good for me betting-wise, but last year wasn't great. So it's a fluctuation. But no, I haven't used any of it I probably used some of it for BTC, but not the majority. Do you watch other YouTubers? You could do that with maybe a food-friendly debate. Yeah, I don't really watch that many MMA YouTubers. The only guys that I watch is I watch the Weasel sometimes, but usually at this point, the only videos that I watch from the Weasel is as soon as a certain fight is over. I like to see his initial breakdown. Or his initial thoughts, I should say, on the fight. So I watch his videos, really only those sort of videos. I don't really watch any other ones. And then for MMA Guru, I'll occasionally watch a couple of videos, occasionally, but usually I don't watch Guru. So honestly, yeah, I really don't watch that many guys at all in terms of the MMA YouTubers. But yeah, if anybody was ever willing to do a little bit of a collab on live stream or video and have a debate about something, I'll definitely be open to it. It'll be cool. Boost both of our channels and whatnot, and make a fun video for you guys or live stream. I'll be open to it. MB, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Fluffy wins the decision. I think so. I agree with you. I think most likely he will. The only reason why I'm gonna bet Roman Dolidze is I just think the value may be there. There are some weaknesses to Fluffy. If you go to the body against him, he gets hurt. He's shown that in a couple of his fights. In his last 2 fights, I believe he got hurt to the body. So I do think that could be an area where Roman Dolidze looks to take advantage or exploit. He does also hit very hard, so a big right hand to the body could be big. Maybe a body kick could be big. And it doesn't really take much. If you look back at the Michel Pereira fight versus Fluffy in the first round, Michel landed literally 1 body kick and he hurt Fluffy to the body. So it seems like he may be a little bit fragile. Maybe it's just a perfect kick, but it seems like he may be a little bit fragile. So we'll see. And because of that, I like the value. He missed weight by how much? So did he? I know he missed weight initially. Did he make it on the second try, or did he miss weight again on the second try? But on the first try, he missed weight by I think half a pound. I think it was like not that much, but regardless, whenever a guy misses weight, it's not great because it does kind of tell you that they probably had a bad weight cut, and usually with a bad weight cut, they can have cardio issues. I mean, Fluffy has insane cardio, so I think he'll be fine in that regard, but maybe his cardio would be a little bit worse than it is normally. And also maybe his durability wouldn't be as good as it is normally if he did have a bad weight cut. So I guess we'll see how it pans out, but he didn't miss weight by that much, so maybe it won't be that big of a factor. And maybe on the second attempt, I think he honestly did make weight in the second attempt. I got to double check that. Let's see. Let's see if he made weight. Fluffy Hernandez. Let's see. Roman Dolidze admits he wasn't that excited to fight Fluffy Hernandez. Yeah, probably not. It's kind of a annoying style to fight with the pressure and essentially trying to wear you out. Where can I find this? Weight miss. Miss weight. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's what it was. So he missed weight by half a pound on his first attempt, but on the second attempt, he made weight at 186. So yeah, he's good. He made weight. But I guess could have been maybe a tough cut, potentially. Are you aware that some of this was evolving recently that Dana can't take a risk on Joshua's fight? Yeah, I saw that. I saw Dana talking about it. And I mean, listen, it does make sense. Because listen, John Jones has not been the most stable guy in the world over the years. So I get it. It does make sense. And the White House card would be one of, if not the biggest cards in a while for the UFC. Ever since UFC 300, it'll probably be the biggest card. So I get it that he can't trust him, but at the same time, I don't know how many other options there are out there. If you're putting on a fight at the White House, the main event has to involve an American. And outside of John Jones, like, who could they possibly do? Sean Brady? Like, that's not that exciting. And outside of him, like, there's literally nobody. So unless you do Conor versus Chandler, but I don't know how much excitement there is for that at this point, and if Conor ever is going to fight. So I get it that Dana doesn't want to trust him, and it makes sense. But I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if John Jones does end up fighting on that card, because he is back in the testing pool, as MB says. Yeah, he is back in the testing pool, and so is Conor. So maybe we could see Conor on that White House card as well. But I wouldn't hold my breath for either one of those guys. Neither one of those guys are really that reliable. It seems maybe John Jones more than Conor, definitely more than Conor, but they've both been in their fair share of controversy. They went over to get arrested 2 weeks before. Yeah, how insane would that be? He'll get arrested, then he'll get a pardon, and then he'll be on the card. maybe that's that'll be an option. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to say about John Jones. It just seems like he can't help himself. He just can't help himself stay out of trouble. But listen, in the octagon, he's a great fighter. He's a very entertaining fighter. But yeah. Sorry, boys. Anyways, I apologize for that. But yeah, so obviously neither one of those guys are that reliable, but we'll see how it goes. How does the idea of Conor McGregor back into the lightweight division after beating Chandler sound to you? You can have him versus Ilya. I mean, listen, if he beats Michael Chandler, he definitely wouldn't deserve an Ilya fight, as Chandler is like 12 in the rankings at this point or whatever. But it is Conor McGregor. He's a huge star, and I'm sure Ilya will welcome that fight. It's a huge money fight. But how I personally see it is, I think there's probably about, let's say, a 35% chance that Conor ever fights again. But even if he does fight again versus Michael Chandler, let's say at the White House card, if he does win, which actually I think he would beat Chandler at this point, but let's say he beats Chandler, I don't think, honestly, I don't think it's super likely that he fights again after that. Like there's a 30% chance, 35% chance that he fights at this point or again. And even if he does fight again and wins, I think it's not super likely that he'll fight again after that. I don't know. I guess we'll see if it does end up happening, but. And he also is getting a little older. Everyone arguing about Tricky Surrounds that, but Tricky's going to pull that out. Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm personally on DDP's side at this point. Very close, though. But as I said, if DDP goes in there, gets a takedown, and gets a submission round one and just looks like a complete domination, I wouldn't be totally shocked. But we'll see. 120 again. Yeah, I mean, that would be a pretty unfair matchup. I mean, Ilya wouldn't be too fair of a matchup for Conor McGregor, especially at this point. Prime Conor versus Prime Ilya. I think Ilya still probably wins, but that'll be an interesting fight. Your profile is Ilya, bro. Yeah, he's a big Ilya fan. I'm a big Ilya fan too. Ilya's a very fun fighter, for sure. Sorry, boys. 1 second. I apologize. But so did you hear for Ilya Charles? It was tough. I mean, how I saw that fight playing out was how it played out. I always thought that that Ilya would find a knockout, probably in the first 2 rounds. But it was tough because I like both guys. I wasn't really rooting for one guy or the other. I just thought that was the most likely scenario. So I was, that's just what I thought. But that's why I didn't really want to see the fight happen, just because I like both guys. And also, I didn't really want to see the fight happen between Max and Charles, because I also like both guys. And I think I think Max would win that fight. But yeah, what are you going to do? Topuria was definitely the better fighter than Charles, and then also against Max. And I think, honestly, against most guys, honestly, everybody probably at 155. And we'll see how he does if he ever does decide to move up to 170. I think there's a good chance of it, but we shall see. We definitely shall see. But yeah, I don't really have much else for you boys outside of that. But yeah, I mean, listen, we have our watch along tomorrow. The card starts at 4 p.m. Eastern time, I believe. Sorry. All right, I'll read this one question and I'll get into it. Do you think Mufsar is a boring fighter? I don't think he has people. Yeah, I mean, listen, he has 0 finishes, so I guess that is a part of it. But I personally think he's not a boring fighter. He's had a lot of fun fights. If you look at his fight versus Lopez, even if you look back at his fight versus Aljamain Sterling, it was all grappling. But I thought that was really fun, watching the scrambles between the two guys, 2 very high level grapplers. So I think Mufsar's fine. I think he's fun. Is he the most fun fighter in the world? I mean, no, but I think he puts on relatively entertaining fights. And those 2 examples, the Lopez fight and the Aljamain Sterling fight, I thought were really good. Is American high school the same as they show in the movies, videos? What do you mean, like with a bully or whatever? I guess I can only say my experience. There was not really any bullies in my school, not any significant ones. So I guess in terms of that, no, but it was a good experience. It was great, honestly. Going to high school here, and it's good times for sure. But yeah, anyways, boys, I hate to cut this off, but I got to dip out. But for tomorrow, the cart will be doing a full watch along, so we'll have plenty of time to chat tomorrow. It'll be like a 6-hour stream probably. So it's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Be sure to be there if you guys are interested in watching the watch along. But outside of that, yeah, that's all. I appreciate everybody for being here. Thanks for all the questions and comments. It's been an amazing stream, and I'll see you tomorrow, boys. W stream. Thanks, man. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out, fellas.